I'm Marla McLeod, Director of Programs with the Ecology Action Centre, and I want to introduce these two lovely people next to me. We've got Patricia Manuel, retired Professor of Planning with a specialization in coastal adaptation, and Jane Alexander, coastal property owner, conservationist, author, and actress. And I think we'll get started. The climate crisis has become very real for Nova Scotians. In the last year alone, we've experienced increasingly severe hurricanes, unprecedented fires, and devastating floods. During Hurricane Fiona, we lost huge sections of our coastline on the northern shore of Nova Scotia and in Cape Breton. And sea levels are set to rise by at least a meter by 2100. Continuing to stall solutions and plan only in the short term is recklessly irresponsible and represents a complete disregard for the safety of Nova Scotians and their families. The process of adapting our communities to a changing climate is complex and time-consuming. Fortunately, there is a straightforward first step. Implement the Coastal Protection Act regulations. And stop building in known risk areas. These stairs leading into the ocean are a fitting metaphor for why we are here today. By continuing to delay the Coastal Protection Act, this government is practically inviting the ocean into our homes. In 2019, the Coastal Protection Act passed with full support from all parties. This government has repeatedly promised that they would complete and implement the Coastal Protection Act regulations by the end of this year. But as of August, the regulations have been delayed until at least July 2025. Now we are in the third set of consultations, the third. We believe that public consultation is very important, but enough is enough. 4 years of work have gone into developing regulations. Civil servants, civil society organizations, and the public have all put in extensive thought, care, and time. We can't keep starting over. The moment for action is now. Sadly, we are no longer in a position where just cutting carbon emissions will save us. Even if we were to stop all carbon emissions tomorrow, we would still be living in a changing climate. Our survival is fundamentally connected to the survival of critical ecosystems like wetlands, old-growth forests, and dunes. We must protect what is left of these living systems because they are what protect us. And a Coastal Protection Act is a key step in this effort. The protection of our coasts affects us all, and every Nova Scotian will feel the impacts and pay the costs resulting from continued delays to the implementation of strong, comprehensive coastal development regulations. We urge all Nova Scotians to tell the government that coastal protection matters to them and to our future.
So March 28th, 2023 was déjà vu for a lot of us who have been working in coastal management for quite a while. We've been here before, at least 2 other times in the past 30 years. And there are probably others who will remember times before that as well. However, the Coastal Protection Act and regulations are the closest we've ever come to actually managing the impacts of coastal development on the natural environment and the safety of Nova Scotians. On March 28th, Minister Hallman announced reining in release of these regulations. He announced more consultations, particularly with coastal property owners, but he didn't reveal the timeline for the release, except not before 2025. Consultation is essential, especially open public consultation. 3 years of excellent, thorough, province-wide, boot-on-the-grounds type of consultation brought us to these regulations. They're not one-size-fits-all. They're sensitive to regional and site conditions, but it's time for release and educate. Not following through on coastal management is one consistent theme in our approach to coastal management in this province. In 1994, the Liberal government of the day released the Coastal 2000, a consultation paper, with the vision to manage sustainable development of the coastal zone. Work started on the initiative before 1994 on another government, Conservative government. But at some time in the past, at some time before that, at some time it disappeared and it didn't make it into the new century. In 2011, the NDP government released the Nova Scotia draft coastal strategy. And again, work on this strategy started under a previous government, Conservative government. The strategy would have addressed multiple aspects of coastal management that would have included development, access, habitat protection, coastal water property, working waterfronts, and sea level rise and storm surge impacts. Unfortunately, the strategy didn't survive the change of government in 2013, but the ideas didn't disappear completely, and the Liberals picked up some components that became the foundation of the Coastal Protection Act and regulations. So, government changed again in 2021. But work continued on these regulations, and we had every reason to expect, and were told, that these regulations would be passed in 2023, would be approved. But here we are again. So like I said, déjà vu. 30 years ago, our government, a Conservative government, could see that we needed coastal management and began a plan to do just that. Other governments, Liberal and NDP, agreed. But what's holding us back? Again, now. Things have only gotten worse. More development pressures, stronger, more frequent storms, sea level rise, and increasingly damaging and costly impacts of flooding and erosion. Minister Hallman put the brakes on these regulations at the end of March. The horrible impacts of Hurricane Fiona along our shores are still very raw. If there is another reason to wait until 2025 or beyond for these regulations, it's hard to imagine what that reason could be.
All right, hi. Hold it here? Yeah. Okay, good. All my life I've lived next to the ocean, or some body of water. I've learned the ways of water. I've watched it carefully. My great-grandfather, Ben Westhaver, Captain Ben Westhaver, he captained 17 ships out of Lunenburg, and his most proud fact was that he never lost a man in all the years that he was captaining ships here. I grew up in Boston and Nantucket. We had a tiny cottage on Nantucket, my family. 50 years ago, the ocean took 172 feet of land in one storm. Our little cottage was left dangling 12 feet from the bluff. We had to move it, of course. My late husband and I moved to Nova Scotia, back to my homeland, 25 years ago, and we went to a beautiful place in Lockport, Nova Scotia, right on the ocean. And within 10 years, we had to put in rocks, a breakwater, to prevent the ocean from damaging the foundations of the home and the barn, which was 1840. Hurricane Lee, the last one, wasn't even called a hurricane, but it came so close to the house and so close to the barn that it was heaving up cantaloupe-sized rocks up the walkway. I can't move my house. I don't want other people to have to go through this. I don't want the legacy of my children and my grandchildren to have to live with what the ocean will do. I respect the ocean greatly. I love her. But water will find a way. She will find a way to come in where she needs to come, and she's not stopping. We have to manage this now, and we have to manage it together, because when I build a breakwater and my neighbor brings a breakwater, that water will still seek a way, and it will go to somebody else's, and that's not right. It's not fair. So we have to work on this together. We have to work on it now, because it is a terrible legacy to leave anybody who comes after us. So please get your act together and pass these regulations.
Thanks, everyone. If there are any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Do you have any insights as to what's going on?
That's an excellent question, so I'll just repeat that. Do we have any insights as to why things have been delayed? I'll be honest and say I don't. I have read the access to information request that came out in the spring. If you read it carefully, you see that they are planning a launch back in the spring, and then suddenly it stops. But I don't know why it's been delayed. I mean, truthfully, I find it a mystery. I don't like to speculate, but I do find it to be a mystery. What I think we need is to just get it done. This government prides itself on action, and in this case, we've done all our homework. Let's just get it done.
Do you think the regulations are ready to change?
I was just asked if the
Clear.
my mic. Oh, there it's back. Okay. Patricia, feel free if you want to add anything here. I mean, they have been working on these regulations for 4 years, and they were planning the launch per that access to information request. So my sense is that they were very, very close to being done.
Patricia, I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about this here. What exactly for the average neighborhood, we didn't quite understand what's happening for our folks. What's the rate of erosion, and what are we looking at over the next few years?
So the question is, what's the rate of erosion, and what do we... So erosion isn't something that you can assign a steady rate to. It's very variable. Depends on the geology, the kind of rock and soil and sediment you have at the coast, and the position of the shoreline relative to the ocean. You know, are you in a protected harbor? Are you on the open sea? Do you have a really hard rock shore like granite, or soft with, you know, sediments, or very friable, that is crumbly sandstone, for example? So there are a lot of factors. So you can't say what a rate will be. And that's one of the things about these regulations. They require that if you anticipate development, if you want to develop, that is new development, that you'd have the property assessed for its susceptibility to erosion. Each property is going to be different because our coastline is incredibly variable. So we can't say for one, you know, there's no standard rate. But what we are seeing, the evidence is there every time we have a big storm. For those shorelines that are susceptible to erosion, they seem to be getting hit pretty hard. And the more that you try to protect your shore from erosion, it seems the harder you have to try each time. You know, the go-to solution is to put up armor rock, seawalls, whatever you can do. But those are hard surfaces too, and they generate their own type of energy when waves hit them, which travels down and along the shore and can impact other people's properties. So, you know, we're looking at new solutions. There are folks around the province that are they're really developing wonderful techniques to use nature to help protect the shoreline, working with homeowners, other groups, organizations to do this. There's a lot of things we can do in addressing what's going to be coming and what is happening now. This isn't new, by the way. It's been going on forever. It's just becoming more and more evident as more and more people are trying to build close to the shore. We love our coast. We want to be near, but we don't have to be in the water.
Yeah, less near the coast. Because if you do, it's going to be a great expense, right?
Should I answer that? Or, yeah, no, you shouldn't be. I mean, we have room in this province to move back a little bit. It's, we're really lucky. We have fantastic terrain here that allows us all kinds of opportunities. So we just have to be smart about it. I think people just, they want to be there, but you don't have to, instead of, 5 meters from the shoreline, if you've got room, move back. That's the message. And know your environment. Watch what's going around you. Look at how the ocean's behaving and how the land is behaving when it's hit by, heavy waves and storms. Pay attention and it will be fine. But it's this ill-conceived or poorly conceived approach to development that's getting us in trouble.
I'd like to add to that this is not a blanket zoning bill. This is going to affect the vulnerable areas, such as the one I just described in my own, and Lockport. And Lockport's causeway has been breached over and over again, and pretty soon it'll be an island again. By the way, an island with no access out and no evacuation plans. We got to really work on this, guys. But so one thing is that the setback probably wouldn't be more than 300 feet or 60 meters, 80 meters, something like that, for the vulnerable areas. People have got to understand it. It's not a blanket zoning, but it really, really has to be done. And as I say, every single one of us should be involved in this together as neighbors. We have to be good neighbors here.
So are these delays an incentive for residents to get their permits, start building, or get built in places where the quality will not be able to go?
So I'll repeat the question, which is, are these delays an incentive to try to build faster? And yes, this is what we're seeing. People trying to beat the act, even though the act is there for our protection. So there are people racing to build close to the coast, too close to the coast, as fast as they can before these regulations come in. And so this is why we've been advocating for this to happen quickly, because it's real, it's live, it's here and it's happening. And so we don't want to create new problems. And something we've often talked about is adaptation is going to be challenging. And this regulation is about not building things that are unsafe. So we just stop building things that don't make sense. And then we are going to have the hard conversations about what do we do when one's 100-year-old house is too close to the shore, or one's community is no longer safe. These are challenging conversations, and we do have to be very good neighbors around this. But first, let's stop creating new problems, because we've got enough problems to deal with. Thank you all.